Are Changebringers any good? I'm so glad I did a Flamer 4.2 video because the Changebringers don't bring that many changes to the regular Flamers. What changes they do bring are highly impactful. I'm just saying, go ahead and show the Flamers video some love because I'll try and not repeat content. Let's look into the changes. Recruited for 1500 favor for 375 upkeep. That is a change. Changebringers come with 12 entities and 3,216 health and 500 barrier points. Yes, that's less than before. Armor is 10, physical resistance 20, unless you're being penalized for low army winds of magic or something, that does happen. Leadership is 60, speed is 105, and charge speed is 130. That is different, thanks to each individual being on a disc of Tzeentch. If you didn't know what they are screamers transformed into magical chaos frisbees that can be stood upon and ridden. I am actually not kidding at all, except for the use of the word frisbee. Melee stats are the same relatively tame ones as the originals, with a max of 4 entities splash damaged, but you're spreading warp fire with each hit. Melee defense is still 12, important to note. Weapon strength is still biased toward armor piercing and charge bonus is 25, a lot better. Mass is 1000 or 300 better. As for ranged, here I'm just putting up the stats, but there's literally zero change from the regular Flamers, good or bad. Usual demonic traits apply. In addition, even on the ground, they have Strider, so fighting in a forest won't bother them. And in Warhammer 3, you can put stuff on the ground on purpose, so that's just an option for you. To recap briefly, the Kairos Red skills provide slightly increased range and increased missile damage, plus some leadership, spell resistance, and a comparatively fat melee weapon strength increase at rank 7. Chaos lures and so on add a little speed and a fair bit of defense along with missile strength. Rank 7 get a little armor, reload time reduction, and missile resistance. Tech Tree on Kairos' side provides lower upkeep and higher missile strength. Not like that's a bad thing or anything. So, how do you use the Changebringers? Well, losing them is even more painful because of the higher balance of power, but despite the barrier points being reduced, I think you have to make the most out of every single point of that. Getting your flames out at a favorable angle on a favorable target is easier than ever, though avoiding being shot is an issue against many factions. What happens after? That's where there's an even bigger difference. Obviously, such high speed means keeping up with moving infantry or cavalry is achievable, but it all comes down to this. Hit and run and try to be gone before the enemy turns around in earnest. If the Flamers are out of ammo and are contributing to the melee fight, it should be on really weak targets or the backs of stronger ones, and then you micro them out. You do not want them dying in melee combat. Much. But short of Doom Knights, what do you really have that has this kind of speed? A few heroes, basically. So your tactical options become much broader. Speaking of broader, your ability to get a better angle should be abused mercilessly too. It's a common skirmisher problem, but sometimes you really do have to wait for the lines to clash before really hitting your foes hard. Because of the downward angle, these Flamers are better at zeroing out individual high-priority units than spreading damage across really huge blobs. And that's totally okay. Survivability before, during, and after is so much higher generally that it's a good trade-off for you. Flamers are still way too paper-thin to doomstack, but tend to greatly thin the herd. If you can get accurate fire, pun intended, on a large single entity, that could be 3,000 odd damage, accounting for armor and warplane damage buffs countering one another. It's possible. Not saying it'll happen every time. It's just to say you have opportunities to try this out and attempt to burn the entire world down. That is change for you. And then once the ammo is dry, you're an enhanced light harasser unit like Marauder Horsemen in the sky. Do your best with it, but hey, Tzeentch forces rely on whittling the enemy down and duking it out with what's left. Having a pure heavy hitter that doesn't need to brawl unless it really wants to is an advantage. So abuse it. Take care, and have fun setting the world on fire.